House and with the opportunity the Senate has to make some modifications to it to strengthen and improve it, will be something that will make this country more safe and people in this country more prosperous. And so we're anxious to get to work on it. It addresses, as you know, a number of issues. It talks about modernizing our military, making America energy dominant, securing our border, and making sure that the American people aren't faced with a $4.5 trillion tax increase at the end of this year. Not to mention significant savings achieved by the deficit reduction measures that are included in the bill. So those are all things that are part of the reconciliation bill that the Senate will be taking up and ultimately voting on. We have a planned, obviously, schedule in which to complete it, and we will try and stay on that, but obviously we were going to take a lot of input from our members and make sure that as we go through this process, it's done in a way that incorporates the views of Republican senators. What's interesting, of course, is the fact that Senate Democrats have said they are going to fight it with everything they've got, according to their leader. And it's interesting to me that what they are going to be fighting against is border security, modernizing our military, making America energy dominant, and they are going to be voting for the largest tax increase in American history. It would put $2.6 trillion in new taxes on people in this country making less than $400,000 a year. That's what the Democrats are going to be fighting tooth and nail for, in addition to fighting against all the things that I just mentioned. But Republican senators are anxious to move forward, and we're going to get this done one way or the other. It will take some time, obviously. There are a lot of moving parts, as I've said, but we are excited to be working with the President and working with our colleagues in the House of Representatives on the agenda that the American people elected last November. Senator Capito.
Well, thank you. I want to, at the risk of being redundant, I think it can't be said enough that we actually have a responsibility here. We have a responsibility to the people that elected us, but the people that elected President Trump. We remember back in 2018, I do, in 2018, 2019, after we passed the 2017 jobs and tax relief bill that we passed, we saw people's salaries, people's wages going up, more people working in every single different diverse category of our workforce. And if it weren't for the pandemic, I think many of us wonder how far could we have gone in terms of our productivity, in terms of families becoming more prosperous. And so I think we do have a mandate to lead, to make sure our taxes don't go up, to make sure that we have our I visited small businesses while I was home. They are very anxious for the depreciation and the expensing so that they can grow their businesses and hire more people. These are extremely essential to every small business, which is really the foundational aspect of a small state like mine, where most of the employment arises and where people can stay and raise their families. So I'm excited about what we're going to do. We will not fail here. I'll make a prediction. We will not fail. We will bring forward from the Senate a robust product that will protect the American people, that will unleash our American energy, but also will make sure that those flourishing days of 2018 and 19, when we were on a roll, will return for every single American.
You criticize the Democrats saying they're going to fight against this with everything they've got. That doesn't seem to be your problem. Elon Musk seems to be your problem. Absolutely torching this bill here, saying everybody who voted for that should be ashamed.
Well, look, we obviously respect everything that Elon did with Doge. On this particular issue, we have a difference of opinion. And I think it's rooted in the fact that he's accepting the CBO assumptions that are built upon a static scoring assessment of the effect, the macroeconomic effect, growth effect, that these changes will have on our economy. And all the modeling that we've seen suggests that the changes that are being made in the tax policy, particularly making permanent bonus depreciation, interest deductibility, R&D expensing, are going to lead to significant growth. And you couple the growth with the biggest spending reduction in American history, and you will see a reduction, not an increase in the deficit. So we have a difference of opinion. He's entitled to that opinion. We're going to proceed full speed ahead.
Are you concerned that he could help tank this bill and whip members against it? Do they listen to him, or they listen to you?
Well, my hope is that as he has an opportunity to further assess what this bill actually does, that he'll come to a different conclusion. But nevertheless, I mean, we have a job to do. The American people elected us to do. We have an agenda that everybody campaigned on, most notably the President of the United States, and we're going to deliver on that agenda. And the legislation as passed by the House can be approved here in the Senate, can be strengthened in the Senate in a number of ways. We intend to do that, but when it's all said and done, we will send it back to the House and hope that they can pass it and put it on the President's desk. And as I said, it does everything that we set out to do. It modernizes our military, secures our border, extends tax relief and makes permanent tax relief that will lead to economic growth and better jobs in this country, and makes America energy dominant, coupled with the biggest spending reduction in American history. So those are our agenda items, and that's what we campaign on. That's what we're going to do.
There are certainly members in your conference who want to see steeper cuts than what are included in this proposal that came over from the House. You had yourself suggested to your conference that perhaps there could be more you could do on the Medicaid side of things. Is that something that you guys are looking at in the Republican conference? Do you see further cuts to Medicaid coming in the Senate bill?
We are running all the traps to make sure that we have as a robust of a bill as possible coming out of the Senate. I think the House made good headway on a number of fronts, but we think there are areas in the federal government, areas of waste, fraud, and abuse that we can further identify that would make that a more robust package. And obviously we have members, as you point out, who have their own opinions about how to do this. But at the end of the day, the math is very simple. It's 51 in the Senate and 218 in the House in order to get a bill on the President's desk. And so as we work through that process, we're going to have our eye on that prize, and that is getting 51 and 218.
How realistic is the July 4th deadline, given the differences, the conflicting interests in the Senate? We've even heard that there may be discussions going on with the House on the possibility of canceling the July 4th recess to get the bill done, to get it back to the House. And how would you describe the difficulty today in getting this done? Speaker Johnson was quoted recently as saying that the negotiating process in the House was like trying to walk over the Grand Canyon on a piece of dental floss.
Well, that's pretty good. Look, it's very complicated. We know that. I can't speak for the House schedule. What I can tell you is that we're going to do everything we can to stay on what we've laid out, and that is to try and work through these next couple, 2-3 weeks, to be prepared to be able to put that bill on the floor the last week before the 4th of July. And so there's a lot of work ahead of us. We know that. None of this is easy. There are, as I've said before, a ton of moving parts. But at the end of the day, failure is not an option. We're going to succeed, and the House is going to succeed, and we're going to get a bill to the President. The timing, as I said, is what we've laid out. That is our goal. I believe we can meet it, but in any event, it's going to get done one way or the other. Thank you.
What about Russian sanctions? Are you putting that on the floor this week? Finance markup, but we'll see everything out there. Yes, do it out in his office.
It's gotten so light that people are out to handle it. You used to need a monopile. Don't car. When are you leaving? I'm here every day all the time. Is it dirt? Dirt department. I'll text you. All right. If you come back tomorrow, yeah, I'll bring it in here in an hour. I got you. And then a lens if you want. I mean, body if you want. All right.
You were leaning so farther in that you're basically part of that press conference.
Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks to Senator Klobuchar and Cantwell. Well, I hear something happened while we were at lunch, which led me to make some news here today and say something I didn't think was imaginable. I agree with Elon Musk. Within the hour, he put on X the following. I have it right here so you can all see it. He said, "I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You did wrong," he said to them. "You know it. It will massively increase the already gigantic budget deficit to $2.5 trillion and burden American citizens with crushingly unsustainable debt." It's right here. He's right. I'll leave it here. Republicans should listen to him, and actually to their former selves, outraged about the national debt. Because it's here, Donald Trump's big, ugly bill is in the Senate. Behind the smoke and mirrors lies a cruel and draconian truth. Tax breaks for the ultra-wealthy, paid by gutting health care for millions of Americans. Over the past few days, President Trump has tried to sell his bill, saying people won't lose coverage, children won't go hungry, costs won't go up. Let's call that for what it is, lies. All of them lies. 14 million Americans will lose health care as they decimate Medicaid and now try to dismantle the Affordable Care Act. So this is an anti-health care bill, not just an anti-Medicaid bill, but an anti-health care bill. 20 million Americans will see their health care costs go up, many of them dramatically, so they might not even be able to afford health care. 11 million Americans, 4 million kids could lose access to federal food assistance. Hungry kids? Telling them to go hungry so billionaires can get an additional tax break? God bless the billionaires. They got plenty of money. They don't need a tax break. Our kids need to be fed. And all 40 million Americans who are receiving food assistance will get less every month, when benefits are already just a couple of bucks a day. Energy costs will go up. What they did to clean energy, they decimated it. They couldn't say they were killing it outright, so they strangled it to death. And what will happen? Energy costs will go up for American families, both electricity and gasoline. 800,000 jobs in domestic energy and manufacturing will be cut. 800,000 jobs. And even more in hospitals and nursing homes and community health centers. That's really risking our economy, such large amounts of people losing jobs all at once. All to pay for tax cuts for the richest. And for big oil. Big oil hates clean energy. Fossil fuel industry hates clean energy because they know it's the future. And they know it's cheaper, at least in terms of solar panels. Cheaper and quicker. So they want to kill it. But everyone knows America needs clean energy in order to meet demands moving forward. Nothing's cheap and quick to build as clean energy. We need 10 times as much electricity to continuing powering breakthroughs in AI and stay ahead of China. With their bill, the Republicans want to raise taxes on the domestic energy sources that are set to deliver more than 80% of the power, of the new power, in the next year. So let me be clear, if this bill passes, your electricity costs are going up. Look at the facts. The Republican plan will increase average national electricity prices by about 10% and total energy costs by $32 billion, all to please the ideological blindness of big oil billionaires. It would jeopardize $840 billion in private investment across America, with more than 85% of that massive cut in Republican states and districts. It's not theoretical, it's already happening. More than $12 billion in private investment, 13,000 jobs in clean energy and manufacturing have already been canceled since January, but that's just the beginning if this bill passes. So this is DEFCON 1 for thousands and thousands of American workers whose jobs depend on federal support for domestic energy incentives. In fact, about 200 solar manufacturing factories, representing more than 40,000 jobs and $35 billion investment, are dead if the Republican plan becomes law, and another 100 would be at risk. Getting clean energy manufacturing is not American energy dominance, it's surrender to China. What a terrible price to pay, just to lower taxes for the ultra-rich, just to line the pockets and the ideological hunger of the fossil fuel industry, and to lose out on American energy dominance. Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Senator Schumer. And to be very clear, this is not a big, beautiful bill. It's a big, beautiful betrayal of the middle class and working people in this country. It's a betrayal of seniors in nursing homes, where half of those in assisted living rely on Medicaid. It's a betrayal of families struggling to put food on the table, and it's a betrayal of the middle class. Americans know, and I'm going to focus here on something that I just don't think has gotten enough attention, in addition to the health care cuts that Senator Schumer so well articulated it. This is the cuts on food assistance. In addition to a nearly $3,000 Trump tariff tax on every single family in America, and food prices going up by more than $200 because of the tariff tax, this betrayal, when it comes to food assistance, is going to be very expensive and very out of reach for a lot of people. 40% of SNAP participants are kids, almost 20% are seniors, and 10% are adults with disabilities. This is a $300 billion, not million, $300 billion cut. So you've heard about the effect it has on hungry people, but there's something, the sleight of hand, that everyone needs to know. And that is that over half of these cuts come from a fake shift over to the states. A shift to the states that the states can't pay for because 40 of them have balanced budget amendments. How much money are we talking about? $100 million would have to go to Kansas to pay for, just like that. $170 million to the state of Kentucky. $580 million extra to be paid for the state of North Carolina. That is why so many governors are speaking out. Governor Laura Kelly, who heads up the State Democratic Governors Association out of Kansas, a very moderate governor, she says, we don't have the money. North Carolina Governor Josh Stein says, our state will be forced into perilous budget decisions. Should North Carolinians lose access to food, or should we get rid of other essential services? Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, it's going to leave more of our kids and seniors going hungry. Farmers will be losing revenue at $35 billion over 10 years. Look what they're already facing. Markets shrinking because of the Trump tariff, input costs up, weather issues, cuts to the USDA, veterinarians leaving, and now this. It will also cost jobs and wages for grocers. I visited a number of grocery stores in my state, independent groceries, because all we need is to not have more consolidation. We want to have these independent grocers, and they're the ones that would be literally the roadkill if this goes through, because especially in rural areas, so many of their customers use SNAP. So this bill is one betrayal of families who are facing these costs, of people who need health care. Either they're on the Affordable Care Act and the rates are going to go way up, or they're in a nursing home, and I mentioned, and they're on Medicaid. Instead of rubber stamping the Trump agenda, instead of just raising their hands up in the air and saying, people will die, it only takes 4 Republicans in the House or 4 in the Senate to stand up and say no to this and work with us on a better budget.
Thank you, Senator Klobuchar. Senator Cantwell.
Thank you. It's great to be here with Leader Schumer and my colleague from Minnesota, Senator Klobuchar. We're here today to talk about the reconciliation bill that makes Medicaid cuts. That is literally just another attempt to repeal the advancements of the Affordable Care Act. American families said no before to repealing the Affordable Care Act, and families are saying no now to repealing parts of the Affordable Care Act. Here are some of the facts from the Urban Institute. By covering more people, the Affordable Care Act improved access to care, covered millions more of Americans, and helped us lower costs. But the provisions in the House reconciliation bill will reverse those gains. And for what? To give a tax break to the ultra-wealthy or to corporations that don't need it? CBO estimates that because of these changes in the House reconciliation bill, there will be 15.9 million more Americans who don't have insurance over the next 10 years. That is more than a 50% increase in the number of people who are currently uninsured. That would reverse the coverage gains by the Affordable Care Act. This would raise costs on all of us. The decision of the Affordable Care Act to be expanded was a good idea. Missouri providers thought so. Emergency room visits in that state dropped by 15% on the uninsured. States that expanded Medicaid overall saw a 55% drop in hospital uncompensated care costs. In Missouri, after the Medicaid expansion, they saw their uninsured rate decline from about 50% to 35%. So now, what is going to happen when you cut Medicaid and more of those people are now going to return to the ranks of the uninsured? Missouri chose to participate in the expansion, and over 300,000 people gained that insurance, but now they are at risk of losing it again. If this bill is enacted, reversing the gains of the Affordable Care Act, it will increase our uncompensated care cost. One estimate, $42 billion alone in 2026 of uncompensated care, and $278 billion in uncompensated care increases over a 10-year window. At the same time, the provisions put into the House reconciliation bill leaves providers and states with any tools that they could do to address this. This bill could cause a $1 trillion decrease in healthcare services, leaving states to try to grapple with that hit. And rural areas will be the most hard hit. The result in declining revenue would have adverse consequences for at-risk hospitals and rural communities. We have all heard from our rural hospitals warning us about this. How is it that our Republican Senate colleagues are not listening to those rural hospitals? The Center for Healthcare Quality and Payment Reform has reported that 1/3 of all rural hospitals in the country are already at risk, closing because of the pressures they face from financial losses on patient care, limited revenues, and other low financial reserves. So this bill puts already at risk rural hospitals in even a more potential state of possible closure. Do our Republican colleagues not care about delivery of health care in our rural community and the spillover effect it has to their economies? This is not scare tactics. This is a bill, if enacted, will not result in savings. It will result in an increase in the uninsured. It will result in financial stresses on our system, and it will increase cost on all of us. And yes, it will cost lives.
Thank you, Maria. Ready for your questions? Yes.
You say you're going to do everything in your power to stop this bill. What does that entail?
Look, we're doing everything we can, as I said. That involves obviously going to the floor. It involves letting the spotlight hearings. We're having one tomorrow on SNAP, where we're letting the American public know. It most of all entails being back in our states and going into other states and showing the public how bad this bill is. Abe Lincoln said it best. Public sentiment is everything. And the more the public learns about this bill, the more they hate it, and the more they tell their Republican senators not to vote for it. No, back there. Okay, we'll go to you.
Some Republicans are already talking about removing the debt ceiling and dealing with it outside of the reconciliation package. If that happens, will Democrats provide the votes?
Let's wait and see what they do. Yes.
How does Musk's opposition change your approach to fight against this?
Well, Musk's opposition shows how bad, if even Elon Musk, who's been part of the whole process and is Trump's buddy, says the bill is bad, you can imagine how bad this bill is.
Well, I think that Musk is disagreeing with the spending cuts, right? I don't know if you guys
Look, I just read you what Musk said. He said people should be ashamed to vote for this bill. I agree with him.
Our members have commented about the debt and the fact that they are actually adding more tax cuts for the wealthiest, which makes it worse on the debt. So in that way, when Musk is talking about the debt, we think this bill is a problem because of the debt as well.
It's a problem because of the debt and many other things. And Musk said people shouldn't vote for the bill. Let's hope the Republicans follow him, not Trump. Thank you, everybody.